The CFO, the treasurer of the kingdom, sitting across the table from you. You just spent 30 minutes explaining the threats. The kill chain, the malware, the ransomware, the 0 days. And you can see it on his face. He believes you. He gets it. Then he says the thing every security leader eventually hears. But where does the gold come from? Because the kingdom's gold is not infinite. The merchants need roads, the builders need stone, the army needs swords. And you're asking for walls that might never get tested. Here's the truth nobody tells you before you take this job. The hardest conversation in security leadership isn't about threats. It's about money. And if you walk in treating the treasurer like an obstacle, you will lose. Every single time. Welcome back. I'm the architect. We've met the party. We know who fights, what roles they play, and how the team actually operates. Before we crack open the arsenal and start handing out gear, we need to talk about something that decides what gear they actually get. Side quest number 3, a pause before the weapons come out. Because you can't buy the gear until you understand how the gold works. No, this isn't a budgeting spreadsheet lecture. This is about a relationship. The treasurer is not your enemy. He's a party member you haven't recruited yet. Here's the uncomfortable part. Every other guild in the kingdom can point at revenue. The merchants bring in gold. The product team ships things that bring in gold. The builders build things that attract more gold. Security doesn't do that. Security prevents loss. Not the same thing. And the person controlling the budget knows exactly how not the same it is. You're not asking for an investment that returns a profit. You're asking for an investment that prevents a disaster. And a disaster that hasn't happened yet is invisible. Which is exactly why security budgets are the first thing questioned and the last thing increased. Until something breaks. The kingdom that won't fund the walls always discovers what they are worth the morning after the siege. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. You think you're asking the treasurer for gold. You're not. You're showing him the gold he's already about to lose. A breach has a cost, a real one, a brutal one. The investigation, the recovery, the fines from regulators, the trade deals that quietly fall apart, the merchants who stop showing up because they don't trust your gates anymore. Honestly, the reputation damage alone can dwarf whatever the walls would have cost. A ransomware attack that shuts down the kingdom for 2 weeks doesn't cost what you paid the attackers. It costs what the kingdom couldn't earn while the lights were out. So here's the reframe. The security budget isn't an expense. It's the gap between the cost of the wall and the cost of the rubble. Frame it that way, and you're not asking for gold anymore. You're showing him exactly where the gold disappears if nobody acts. And here's where it gets genuinely hard. Because everything you're arguing is a could happen. Spend 50,000 gold to prevent a 2 million gold loss. Except that 2 million gold loss might also just not happen. The siege might not come this year. The walls might hold on their own somehow. The enemy might pick literally any other kingdom instead. And the treasurer knows all of this. You're not selling a certainty. You're selling the prevention of a probability. And the person across the table can always run the math in reverse. We could keep the 50,000, invest it somewhere that actually generates a return, and maybe nothing goes wrong. And here's the annoying part. He might be right this year. Maybe even next year. But the probability doesn't reset every year like some clean little dice roll. It compounds. Every year you skip it, the wall gets older. The crack gets wider. The enemy gets better at their job. And the day it finally happens, the bill isn't 2 million gold anymore. It's 2 million gold plus every year of deferred maintenance plus the reputation hit of a kingdom everyone already knew was underinvesting. You're not arguing that disaster is certain. You're arguing that being wrong about it isn't a symmetric bet. Wrong on the side of spending means you bought walls that held. Wrong on the side of saving means you lost the kingdom. That asymmetry is the whole argument. And the leader who can say that calmly, without the horror movie soundtrack, earns a seat at the table. The kingdom spent 50,000 gold on walls last year, and then nothing happened. No siege, no breach, no dragon at the gate. And the treasurer looks at you and goes, "Did we actually need those walls?" And you want to say, "That's like buying a shield and complaining you didn't get stabbed. Want me to arrange a stabbing so you feel better about the purchase?" But you don't say that because you're a professional. Mostly. Here's the hardest part of this job. A quiet year is what success looks like. And a quiet year looks exactly the same as a year where you wasted the money. The only time the value becomes obvious is the day it fails. And by then, nobody's talking about budget anymore. They're talking about survival. This is where most security leaders blow it. They walk into the budget meeting like a petitioner, hat in hand, justifying their existence, hoping to survive the cuts. Wrong posture. Completely wrong. The treasurer's job is protecting the kingdom's gold. Your job is protecting everything else the kingdom has. You're both just trying to prevent loss. You're natural allies who haven't figured that out yet. The whole conversation changes the second you stop asking for money and start sharing risk instead. Here's what our threat model says. Here's what it costs us financially if these scenarios play out. Here are 3 options at 3 price points. This one covers the likely stuff. This one covers most of it. This one covers nearly everything. State the leftover risk clearly, every time. Let the business decide how much risk it wants to carry. You're not begging for budget. You're handing the treasurer a risk decision that's rightfully his to make. Last side quest, we talked about speaking 2 languages. Upstairs to the council, downstairs to the engineers. Turns out there's a third one, the treasurer's language. Not threat actors and kill chains, not vulnerabilities and patch cycles. Exposure, liability, probability of loss, cost avoidance, insurance. Something like this. The probability of a material breach under our current controls is roughly 30% over the next 2 years. Estimated financial impact, 2 to 5 million gold. A 400,000 gold investment drops that probability under 10%. That's not a security pitch. That's a financial risk calculation. And he's been running that exact kind of math his entire career. You're not teaching him anything new. You're just putting your risk into the framework he already uses for everything else. The CISO who walks in with a wish list of tools gets grilled. The CISO who walks in with a risk exposure analysis and 3 costed options gets funded. Nobody funds the whole arsenal in year 1. And the leader who demands it all up front is basically announcing that they don't understand how kingdoms work. Build in phases, tied to actual risk priority. Year 1, close the gates that are standing wide open. Patch the cracks the enemy's already using. Put a guard on the doors that actually matter. Year 2, build the watchtower. Deploy detection. Start seeing what you couldn't see before. Year 3, harden, hunt, mature. Each phase has a cost. Each phase kills a specific risk. Each phase earns the trust that funds the next one. The treasurer doesn't need to buy your 5-year vision on day 1. He needs to see what you built last quarter actually worked. Results fund roadmaps. Promises don't. The kingdom can buy insurance, and it should. Cyber insurance is a real financial tool. It shifts some of the leftover risk onto someone willing to carry it for a price. But insurance doesn't replace walls. The insurer is going to ask what controls you actually have. Answers thin, premium goes up, coverage goes down, or they just say no. Insurance sits behind good defenses. It doesn't replace them. Think of it as the healer in your party. Essential, part of the plan, but the pillar who shows up to a fight where nobody brought armor is going to have a very bad day. The gold conversation isn't a pitch. It's a partnership. The treasurer, the CFO, the board, whoever's actually holding the purse strings, they are not the obstacle standing between you and a secure kingdom. They're the party member who controls the resources. And party members earn each other's trust the same way anyone does. Sharing information honestly, laying out real options, respecting what the other person actually knows. You understand threats. He understands money. Put those together and you can make a call neither of you could make alone. The security leaders who keep getting funded year after year aren't the ones scaring the board with horror stories. They're the ones sitting behind the treasurer saying, here's what I see, here's what it costs, here's what we can do about it, and here's what happens if we don't. Calmly, clearly, like a partner. The purse opens for partners. It stays shut for petitioners. Your quest objective. Think about the last time you asked someone for resources. Money, time, headcount, anything. Did you frame it as a request or maybe as a shared problem? There's a real difference between I need more budget and here's a risk we both own and here are 3 ways to handle it. One's a petition, the other's a partnership. Practice the second one. Because the gold follows the trust, and trust follows the leader who treats the treasurer like an ally, not a gatekeeper. We've met the party, we understand the gold now. Time to open the arsenal. Next episode, network security. Walls, gates, and moats. The first piece of gear the party actually needs, and the foundation everything else gets built on. I'm the architect. We'll talk soon.